I get the opportunity to explore and show the integration between Chime and BrokerMint. We've worked hard at this, and there are some improvements to come to continue to expand on what currently is supported. So right now, I'm going to show you what is currently available, and then we're definitely going to discuss kind of some of the upcoming optimizations that we should see in the next couple of weeks, actually, to improve this even further. So the first thing I want to show you, as requested, was how to integrate Chime and BrokerMint. That's done really simply by going into Chime. You go to the settings section up here across the top, and then you're going to hit integrations on the left side. And then on this integrations, this section here, we have a dedicated line for BrokerMint specifically. Now, each individual user should do this. Now, before getting to this part, you'll want to reach out to BrokerMint to request a couple of different, a couple of data sets that you needed to actually connect this. So what those are is the BrokerMint API key, as you can see here, and we will also need what's called the account ID. That's to make sure that we transition and work with the permissions and the ownership between transactions between BrokerMint and Chime. So simply reach out to your BrokerMint support team, and they'll be able to provide you with both of those. So I'm going to do that now, just while we're on the call, to just show you how easy it is. Once you get those from support, you just paste them in here, and then you're going to hit the save button right here. It's going to tell you it's been connected successfully, and across here at the top now, you're going to see that it's an existing integration. We've got BrokerMint labeled right here. If for whatever reason you ever needed to disconnect that from Chime, you've got the button ready for you there. So very simply, we've integrated BrokerMint already directly to the Chime platform. Once again, each individual user should do that in order to make sure that they've got their account connected. And we'll kind of go over this later, but the ownership of a transaction is of course important. You're not able to send a transaction out of Chime if you do not own it in Chime. So that is an important aspect to touch on, and that we outline clearly in our help documentation as well, if you ever want to reference what those limitations are. So let's just go over and show you exactly how the integration works, what our connection points are. So I'm going to go to a lead profile page. If you're familiar with Chime, you'll know this is a contact record. This is where all of the information is stored regarding a specific person. Obviously, Chime being the lead conversion platform up to this point, you would have done marketing, you would have worked with this person, of course, to understand what they need. You can set up property alerts, smart plans, all of that directly in the Chime platform. Now, at some point, you're going to want to send this information over to the back office side, as we've already discussed on this webinar. And you can do that, and you can start the transaction in Chime and then sync it right over to the BrokerMint side. So in the Chime lead profile, there's a transactions and docs tab. If we go here, I'm going to show you what it looks like to build a new transaction and sync it right over to BrokerMint. I'm going to click on and actually before I do that, I want to make sure I do a refresh now that we've actually integrated, just to make sure we don't have any hiccups there. So we're gonna sync a new transaction over to BrokerMint. We already touched on this briefly earlier. When you were seeing BrokerMint, you can accept transactions that are sent over from Chime. There's a couple of different ways to do that. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna add a new transaction, and then we're going to give the transaction a name. This is an important part, of course. Typically, this is just going to be the address. So we'll just grab an address. It's going to provide me some suggestions, so I'll just grab one of those as a sample. And once again, you'll see there's a field for transaction owner. That needs to be you if you're sending this transaction through to BrokerMint. All of this information, as much as possible, all of the common data that we can sync up with BrokerMint, we have. It's outlined clearly in our Help Center documentation if you want to take a look at that, and I'll try to show that a little later. But for now, we'll just go ahead and enter in we'll choose the transaction stage, we'll choose closed. Obviously, it could be something that you're just starting out and you can send it over earlier. That's also a possibility, but we'll grab closed as an example. And as you can see, you can start this information here on the Chime side. We're just making up some numbers here. And as I continue to scroll down, we've got all these other fields. As I mentioned before, I'll point out a table where it shows what data actually syncs. between Chime and BrokerMint. But you've got your property address here, and you'll notice there's a checkbox down here at the bottom. This checkbox allows for you to send this to BrokerMint. You can send this transaction to BrokerMint as what we've called an actual transaction, or you can send it as an incoming transaction. So just a glance on the BrokerMint side, if we wanted to take a look at that, just to make sure you understand what a incoming transaction is versus an actual transaction. If you are familiar with BrokerMint, you have the opportunity with your incoming transactions to have sort of an inbox right here as incoming transactions that you can accept or discard if you want. So you can send it that way. Now, if you do it with that method, it's more of just sending through some numbers. It's not synchronizing the transactions back and forth. So if you want to have them synchronized moving forward, then you're going to want to use the actual transaction option. So we're going to go ahead and save it as an actual transaction. And now on the Chime lead profile, we have a transaction listed right here. And we've got the basic details that Chime supports so that you have some context if you need to right in the Chime platform. And we've got a couple of options. Of course, I'm going to click on the transaction here to show you what the transaction page actually looks like in Chime. And then one of the things you're going to notice is that there's actually a BrokerMint logo right here across the top. Now, what that means is that this is synchronized to BrokerMint. And if I click that logo, it's going to let me view it in BrokerMint. So very easily, I can go back and forth. One of the upcoming improvements that I'll just mention now that we're working with the BrokerMint team on is on the BrokerMint side, having the Chime logo up here so that you can easily jump back to the Chime profile that is related. So not exactly sure where it will appear, but somewhere up here across the top, you're going to see the Chime logo. So you can easily jump back to the Chime and the associated lead in Chime. So that's one of the places that you're going to see that the connection is clearly outlined for you.